In my past life, it happened the exact same way. Olivia showed up out of the blue, with Ryan Peterson in tow, telling me she wanted a divorce. I had worked my ass off to support her for over a decade. For all those years, Olivia never had to lift a finger, since I was even the one who took care of our son. I pampered her so much that at over 30, she still looked like she was in her early 20s. Everyone around us was green with envy, jealous that she had a great husband like me. Even her best friend tried to seduce me on multiple occasions, and I had to awkwardly turn her down each time. I had no idea what more she could possibly want that would make her cheat on me. In my last life, I refused to divorce her for the sake of our son, Brandon, so she started spreading vicious rumors. She claimed I was having an affair with her best friend, completely destroying my career. To survive, I had to start delivering for DoorDash just to support her and our son. Who would have thought she would be cruel enough to team up with our son to drug me, causing me to get into a car accident while in a daze? As I lay dying in that hospital bed, that wretched woman told me everything. It turned out the son I had raised for more than 10 years was not even mine. It turned out that my own mother's death years ago, which I thought was from an incurable illness, was also her doing. The rage was so intense it stopped my heart, and I died. I never imagined fate would give me a second chance. Ryan is a trust fund kid, Lucas, she said. He is not like you, who came from some backwater town in Arkansas and nearly killed yourself just to afford one condo in Denver. Ryan's family owns several properties in Aspen. He can give me and our son a much better life. Right in front of me, Olivia was reciting the exact same lines as in my past life. Ryan stood beside her with his arms crossed, looking down on me with contempt. But this time was different. After my rebirth, I had gained a special ability. I could see numbers floating over people's heads, representing their personal disposable assets. Olivia's number was $800,000, which was our shared marital assets. The downtown condo alone was worth nearly $1.7 million, so her half was indeed around $800,000. But when I looked at Ryan's head, I saw something else entirely. -$2 million. It was a negative number. Olivia's confident tone did not sound like an act, which could only mean one thing. Ryan had lied to her. I thought about my past life, how I had begged and pleaded with her not to leave me, and what it had gotten me. I smiled. Fine. I agreed to the divorce. The two of them stared at me, stunned, clearly not expecting me to agree so easily. When Olivia finally processed it, she somehow became angry with me. Lucas, what is that supposed to mean? You have been wanting to get rid of me for a while, have not you? What was wrong with this woman? I softened my tone, pretending to be the same old pushover I was in my past life. But Olivia, you are the one who said you wanted a divorce. You said Brandon could have a better life with him. If that is what it takes, I'm willing to step aside for your happiness. I just hope you will let me see Brandon and you when I miss you both. My voice was full of sincere humility. Olivia just snorted. At least you know your place. And just like that, it was settled. I did not miss the flicker of delight in Ryan's eyes. When it came time to divide the assets, we hit a snag. Olivia actually wanted me to walk away with nothing. This condo was my inheritance, what my parents worked their entire lives for. I said, Olivia, my parents left me this place. How can you expect me to get nothing? Besides, does not Ryan have several properties? Surely he does not care about my one little condo. Mom, I'm sick of this place anyway. We do not need it. Just let Lucas have it, said Brandon, the boy I had raised for another man for over a decade. I stared coldly at his face, which looked nothing like mine. The love I once had for him was now replaced by an equal measure of disgust. He did not notice the change in me. Or maybe he did and just did not care, still treating me with the same arrogance and calling me by my first name. Thinking back to what he did in our past life, I'm sure he knew all along that I was not his real father. A flicker of hatred crossed my eyes. Ryan, listening to their exchange, started to look anxious. He quickly cut in, afraid of losing his prize. Olivia, that is not right. What is yours. Do not just give it away. Olivia insisted I leave with nothing. Just like last time, she threatened me with fake photos of me in bed with her best friend. She said if I did not agree to be cleaned out, she would make a scene in my office. The truth is, Nothing ever happened between me and her friend. The photo was taken one night when I was passed out drunk, and her friend snuck into my room to pose with me. Anyone with half a brain could see it was staged, but unfortunately, people love to gossip. Within days, my colleagues and neighbors started giving me strange looks. My boss at the tech firm in Boulder even called me in for a talk. I walked out of his office, my face grim. I knew Olivia was behind it. She wanted a divorce, and so did I. At this point, I could not wait to be rid of her. Ignoring the stares of people on the street, I walked back excitedly, pulling out my phone to call Olivia. "Hello, where are you? Let's do it. We will go get divorced tomorrow." "I agree. The condo is yours," I said, trying to sound devastated while hiding my excitement. The next day, I skipped work and rushed with Olivia to the courthouse to finalize the divorce. To be safe, I even signed an agreement stating I was forfeiting all marital assets. I walked away with absolutely nothing. Then Olivia and Ryan, those two snakes, went straight from divorcing me to getting their own marriage license. I saw the pity in the clerk's eyes as she handed me the papers. I just smirked, glanced at the happy couple, and walked away. After leaving the courthouse, I immediately found a nearby convenience store and went inside. I pulled up the photo of the lottery numbers I had taken the day before and bought 10 tickets with that exact sequence. The store manager looked at me like I was an idiot, but I just smiled and left, completely satisfied. Here's what happened. Over the past couple of days, Olivia had come to my office to cause a scene multiple times. My coworkers, even the cleaning staff, were looking at me with disdain. Yesterday, I was downstairs from my building having a smoke, trying to figure out what to do. I did not want to lose the condo, and I really did not want to lose my job. I thought about hiring a private investigator to look into Olivia and Ryan, to prove who was really having the affair. But I was afraid I would be fired before I got any proof. In my past life, I was fired not just because Olivia's public scenes made the company look bad, but also because my boss wanted to replace me with his new favorite. I could not accept that, and I was racking my brain for a solution. Just then, a man walked by, and the number above his head was flickering, fading in and out. It was the first time I had seen anything like it, so I could not help but stare as he passed. A second later, it hit me like a bolt of lightning. Could the reason his disposable assets were fluctuating be that he was about to win the lottery? He had just walked out of the convenience store, after all. I quickly followed him to get a better look. That was it. There were a lot of zeros flickering, so many I could not get a clear count. I suddenly remembered that in my past life, just a few days after I lost my job, that very same store had sold a massive winning lottery ticket. I had to fight to keep my composure. I walked up, tapped him on the shoulder, and said hello. He looked at me warily, which was fair since I probably looked pretty rough. I just smiled and pointed to the lottery ticket in his hand, asking if I could see it. He gave me an even weirder look, but since we were in public, he let me glance at it. I tried to memorize the numbers instantly, but realized I could not. I quickly pulled out my phone and asked if I could take a picture. He agreed, and my hand was shaking as I snapped the photo. And that is what led to all this. I clutched my own tickets as I went back to my rental apartment. The drawing was tonight. I had divorced Olivia this morning and bought the tickets this afternoon. If I won, the money would have absolutely nothing to do with her. I probably should not have bought 10 identical tickets. I know these things can be rigged, but the reason I remembered this specific jackpot so clearly was that there had only been one winner for that drawing. The prize for a single ticket was enormous. So I figured that even with 10 winning tickets, the total payout would not be unusually high compared to other jackpots. It was a gamble, betting that the lottery commission would still pick these numbers for the publicity. After all, in my past life, that single massive win sparked a nationwide lottery fever that made them a fortune. The minutes ticked by, my palms sweating. I was a nervous wreck, worrying I had misread the numbers or bought the wrong ones. I must have compared my tickets to the photo a dozen times. Somehow, in the midst of all that anxiety, I fell asleep. When I woke up, the drawing was already over. I frantically opened my phone and went to the lottery website. The page loaded so slowly. I never hated this piece of junk phone more. The second I got money, I was buying a new one. I cursed under my breath as the results finally loaded. With my tickets in one hand and the phone in the other, I checked the numbers one by one. 01, 03, 13, and the very last number matched. I won. I actually won. I quickly checked the prize amount. A single ticket was worth $40 million. I bought 10. That meant I was flushed with excitement. I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs, but I held back so I would not bother the neighbors. I did not sleep a wink that night. The next day, I got up early, put on a disguise, and went to claim my prize. The whole process went smoothly. I made a sizable donation and refused all interviews. The moment the money hit my account, the air had never smelled so sweet. I felt like I was floating. It was pure bliss. Even the angry text from my boss on my phone seemed almost charming. I took a leisurely cab ride to the office. My coworkers were surprised to see me, since I had not shown up in days, and they all assumed I'd been fired. A friend of mine pulled me aside and whispered, "The boss is looking for you. Brace yourself." I nodded and walked briskly into my boss's office. He started yelling at me the second I walked through the door, and I just stood there and took it. "You just do not want this job anymore, do you?" he shouted. When he finally ran out of steam, I tossed my resignation letter onto his desk. "You are right. I quit." After quitting, I changed my number, giving it only to a few close friends. I bought a condo with cash in an exclusive, high-security building downtown. Then, with the help of a very enthusiastic salesman, I picked out the car I had always dreamed of but could never afford. It was understated luxury. In just a few days, I had gone from a broke nobody to a multi-millionaire. It felt surreal, but it was very real. I checked on Zillow and saw that the condo my parents left me had indeed been sold a few days prior. I could not help but smile thinking about the miserable future waiting for Olivia. Ryan had probably taken the money and skipped town by now. A few days later, my friend Leo invited me out to dinner. He saw my new car and his jaw dropped. "Dude, it looks like that divorce was the best thing that ever happened to you, financially speaking." I just smiled and let him think I got a good settlement. I did not want anyone knowing about the lottery. "By the way," Leo said, sipping his beer and watching my face carefully, "your ex-wife called me yesterday asking for your new number. She sounded pretty desperate. You did not give it to her, did you?" "Of course not, man. I would not do that. Your divorce is a good thing. I never liked the way she treated you." "But what about Brandon? You are not going to see him either?" The moment he mentioned Brandon, my expression soured. "Do not ever mention him to me again." "Hey, do not you have a friend who is a private investigator? I need a referral." I got the investigator's contact from Leo and hired him to dig up everything he could on that pretty boy Ryan. I was not going to let anyone who wronged me in my past life get away with it. I never thought that even after changing my number, that relentless mother and son duo would manage to track me down. I was pulling up to the gate of my building when a figure suddenly darted out in front of my car. I slammed on the brakes, furious, and leaned out the window. "What the hell? Are you trying to get yourself killed? Who are you talking to?" "Lucas, open your eyes and see who it is." I recognized a voice. I looked closer and, sure enough, it was Olivia. It had only been a month, but she looked like hell. I almost did not recognize her. Her once perfect hair was a mess, and a woman who used to spend 2 hours getting ready was now standing outside in her pajamas. She had a black eye, looking like someone had hit her. I could not help but let out a short, sharp laugh. "Oh, it is you. What happened to you?" I said sarcastically, but Olivia missed the tone completely and thought I was showing concern. Her eyes welled up with tears. "Lucas, Ryan is a fraud. He is in massive debt. He gambled away all the money, and he hits me." She broke down completely, leaning against my car in a mess of tears and snot. I was utterly disgusted and just wanted to drive off. That is when Brandon darted out from the side. "Oh, right. He goes by Brandon Peterson now. Olivia changed his last name the second she married Ryan." "Mom, stop crying. You are embarrassing me," he whined. "Lucas, open the door. I am starving. Take me out for a nice dinner." He still acted like an entitled brat, assuming I would spoil him and do whatever he wanted just like before. Remembering her mission, Olivia managed to stop crying. Her eyes lit up as she looked at my car, and a greedy smile spread across her face. "Lucas, where did you get the money for this car? Brandon is hungry. Open the door and take him to get something to eat." Brandon was yanking on the rear door handle, refusing to let go. I just stared at the shameless pair and said, Olivia, we are divorced. Do not ever come looking for me again. Your life is no longer my problem. Olivia stared at me, stunned. What are you talking about? Brandon chimed in. Lucas, how dare you talk to my mom like that? Do not you want her to take you back? I laughed coldly. Your mom? Who the hell is she? Get lost. Unable to accept this, Olivia shrieked and started yanking on my door handle, making a scene. Everyone come look. This deadbeat got rich and abandoned his family. He has no heart. You had money from me, did not you? You lied and said you were broke to trick me into a divorce. You heartless bastard. I watched her performance with cold detachment, then pulled out my phone and called building security. Is this how you handle security? I am a resident, and I am being harassed at the gate. Where are your guards? A moment later, a few large security guards rushed out. They pushed through and restrained Olivia and Brandon, pulling them aside. I saw Olivia screaming and Brandon glaring at me with pure hatred. I drove off without a second glance. In this world, money cannot buy you everything, but it can solve most of your problems. That night, the private investigator sent over the expedited report I requested. It turned out Ryan and Olivia had known each other for over a decade, and Brandon was his son. Ryan came from some small town in Nebraska and was a middle school dropout who had been hustling ever since. He had used his good looks and smooth tongue to sleep with countless women. Olivia was one of them. When he found out she was pregnant, he ghosted her and disappeared. Soon after, Olivia met me, and after her very enthusiastic pursuit, we were married. I stared at the report, unable to believe that the gullible fool who took her in was me back then. I was captivated by her delicate features and the shy way she looked at me. I married her on impulse, secretly vowing to spend my life making her happy. What a goddamn idiot. It took all my self-control not to shred the report right then and there. I skipped ahead to Ryan's section. The guy had a certain talent for grifting, talking his way into women's beds and wallets. He got bolder over the years, targeting wealthy older women, and managed to build up some savings. Unfortunately, he got hooked on drugs. He took out loans from loan sharks, and the debt snowballed into the millions. That is when he remembered he had a kid somewhere and contacted Olivia. The two of them reignited their flame instantly, carrying on behind my back. I sat by the window, holding the file, gazing out at the glittering city lights as a plan began to form. I dialed a number from the report. The private investigator Leo recommended was good. His work was thorough. My call to security must have worked because Olivia did not bother me for the next few days. I contacted the owner of the illegal casino Ryan frequented. I paid her to let Ryan win and to let him win big. In the meantime, I was not idle. Years of endless overtime had taken a toll on my health. Now that I had money, I was determined to get myself back in shape. I hired a personal nutritionist, started eating clean, exercising regularly, and sticking to a healthy sleep schedule. Looking in the mirror, I could see a huge difference in just a few months. I smiled, satisfied. I guess some people are just born rotten. With Ryan winning all that money, Olivia's life improved, and I figured they would leave me alone. I overestimated them. One day, Leo, who I had not heard from in a while, called me out of the blue. Dude, are you okay? I was confused. What could possibly be wrong? What is going on? You have not been online at all lately? No, I had just been reading and working at home. What is it? Just tell me. Check your iMessage. I sent you a link. And with that, he hung up. I opened iMessage and saw the link he had sent. The title was Heartbroken Mother and Son Abandoned and Betrayed, Day 11 of Our Live Stream Journey. I tapped it. The screen opened to a TikTok live stream. The hosts were none other than Olivia and Brandon. There were tens of thousands of viewers, and the number was climbing. On screen, Olivia looked haggard and fragile, a look perfectly crafted to make people want to protect her. It was a far cry from the genuine mess at my gate. This was a carefully constructed performance. Thank you all for your support, she said softly. We are so grateful. Brandon, say thank you to everyone. Brandon peeked out from behind her, his eyes wide and innocent, as he politely thanked the viewers. He was like a completely different person from the arrogant punk I knew. Within minutes, users had sent them several expensive virtual gifts. The comments were filled with sympathy. Do not be sad. You are better off without that loser, one said. Who would hit such a beautiful woman? Said another. That Lucas guy is human garbage. Forget him. I will take care of you both. Yeah, Lucas Miller needs to get on here and apologize. Lucas is a piece of trash. The vast majority of comments were vicious. The few people who tried to defend me were completely drowned out. Several of my friends called to ask what was going on. It is nothing, I told them. Do not worry, I will handle it. After hanging up, I went about my days as usual, staying home, sticking to my routine, and reading. I created a TikTok account under my real name and followed Olivia. Over the next few days, my inbox was flooded with hateful private messages. I ignored them all and let things play out. Meanwhile, the casino owner messaged me yesterday to say it was time to spring the trap. By that point, Ryan had won several $1 million at her tables. Leo sent me screenshots from Olivia's Facebook page. She was constantly posting photos of new cars and luxury goods. Brandon had stopped going to school entirely and was just doing live streams with Olivia all day. Seeing them living so well put my mind at ease. Then, at the peak of her online fame, I posted everything. The hotel records from her affair, their chat logs, and a high-definition video that I barely bothered to censor. At first, it did not get much traction, but by that evening, it had gone viral. The comments were a wall of holy crap. Riding the momentum, I posted a screen recording I titled Part 2. It was a detailed breakdown of my spending for the last decade. One column was for Olivia and Brandon's expenses, the other was for my own. The contrast was stark. What I spent on myself in a year was not even a fraction of her annual allowance. The internet exploded. People were furious, feeling like they had been played for fools. They flooded Olivia's live stream with so much hate that she was forced to end it. You lying bitch. You scammed us. This is disgusting. How can anyone be so vile? I think I'm going to be sick. Same here. Thank God I never believed her sob story and did not give her a dime. I did. One person wrote. I even used my credit card. LOL. You are an even bigger sucker than Lucas was, someone replied. I am requesting a refund. That scammer does not deserve my money. The backlash was intense. Viewers who had sent her gifts started filing for refunds, claiming they were minors. I did not go live. I just posted a clear, concise text post explaining my history with Olivia, the fact that we were divorced, and that I had walked away with nothing. I ended it with, "You can be sentimental, but do not take me for a fool." My inbox was then flooded with apologies from the same people who had been cursing me out days before. I did not feel anything reading them. I just wanted to make sure Olivia's life was miserable. Thinking about Olivia's current predicament, I grinned. This was only the beginning. The next morning, I woke up to countless missed calls from unknown numbers on my phone and a string of texts from Olivia. They started with curses, then shifted to begging me to delete the posts, then went back to screaming insults. In a span of 2 hours, she sounded completely unhinged. I just tapped her contact, blocked the number, and confirmed. According to the news online, Olivia was facing massive chargebacks and lawsuits. The money she had made from streaming was long gone, and she had even spent the cash Ryan had given her. She had no way to pay people back. The reports said she was being forced to sell off her designer bags and clothes. I listened to the private investigator's update and smiled. So Ryan had given some of his winnings to Olivia? I thought he had gambled it all away already. It was time for me to take a little trip. That night, I called the casino owner. An elegant female voice answered. Hello. Her voice sent a shiver down my spine. I cannot believe it. The owner was a woman. Hello, I said. I was hoping to come by tonight and see how things are progressing. Oh, it is you, she replied with a light chuckle. I have sent the address to your phone. Call me when you get to the gate, and I will come get you. After he hung up, I could still feel a pleasant tingle from the sound of her voice. I wondered if she was as beautiful as she sounded. As evening fell, I stood in front of the mirror adjusting my outfit. Thanks to my new fitness regimen, my posture was straight and confident. I was wearing a tailored casual blazer and rimless glasses. I rubbed my chin, looking at my reflection. Even in my 30s, I thought I still looked a bit too earnest and naive. I chuckled at the thought, grabbed my keys, and headed out. The address she sent led me to a desolate spot out in the middle of nowhere. I called her, and a few moments later, a pair of headlights appeared down the road. The car pulled up, the window rolled down, and a stunningly beautiful woman looked me up and down. "Mr. Miller?" I nodded. "Get in," she said. "I will take you the rest of the way." Ryan really got around, finding a place this hidden. We drove through the gates of a large estate that looked unassuming from the outside. But the moment we stepped inside, I could feel the difference. The decor was impeccable, a testament to the owner's taste. Staff members passing by all greeted the woman leading me. "Good evening, Ms. Hayes." She gave him a slight nod and continued, leading me deeper into the building. I kept my expression neutral, but inwardly I was stunned. This was a world I had never had access to before. "You are a valued client, and I have a good feeling about you," she said, turning to flash me a captivating smile. "So you get the VIP treatment." She pushed open a door. We entered a surveillance room with a wall covered in hundreds of monitors. I feigned composure and looked at Evelyn Hayes. She had an operator pull up one of the feeds on a main screen. There, at a card table, red-faced and sweating, was Ryan Peterson. I watched him, his eyes glued to the dealer's hands, veins bulging in his neck. He had the desperate look of a man betting his life. "You have excellent timing," Evelyn Hayes said. "If he loses this hand, not only will all his winnings be gone, he will be $5 million in debt to the house on a high-interest loan, of course." She gave me a playful wink as she said it. This woman was full of surprises. She had the commanding presence of a queen, but a mischievous, sweet side too. I shook my head to clear the distracting thoughts. But then I heard her soft laugh. "You are an interesting man, Mr. Miller." My face flushed. How embarrassing. I was about to say something to recover when a loud cheer erupted from the monitor. I looked up quickly. Thankfully, the celebration was coming from the other side of the table. Ryan had lost. His face was pale as a ghost. His phone, sitting on the table beside him, started vibrating with an incoming call. He seemed to remember something and snatched up the phone. "Hello, Olivia? Where's that money I gave you? Wire it to me now." His face contorted. "What? What do you mean you spent it? Who the hell told you you could touch my money?" Ryan was practically screaming. The other players at the table sneered at him. "Are you in or out? If you are out, get lost." With a grimace, Ryan was shoved aside, still screaming into his phone. It sounded like he was saying some pretty nasty things. I glanced at Evelyn Hayes, who smiled, understanding instantly. She whispered something to an aide, who then left the room. I did not need to see any more. I left, mostly because the way Evelyn Hayes was looking at me felt like she was about to devour me whole. It made me uneasy. Besides, I knew I would be kept updated on the situation. The casino had its own collectors. Deep in debt, Ryan sold everything of value they owned. Staring at Olivia, who was a disheveled mess and could do nothing but cry, Ryan was at his wit's end. He remembered something one of the casino staff had mentioned. Hardening his heart, he pulled Olivia up from the floor. "Baby," he said, "I know another way to make money. It just requires a little help from you. Are you willing to try?" Olivia, who had been the target of internet-wide hatred, suddenly vanished from social media. After a takedown that brutal, "How could you show her face again?" people commented. I would have deleted my existence. Then Brandon found me again. "Dad," he said, blocking my car, his eyes red and swollen. "I cannot get in touch with Mom, and Ryan is gone." All his previous arrogance had vanished, replaced by a pitiful stare. By some strange coincidence, events were mirroring my past life. Back then, Brandon had stopped my delivery scooter with the same story. Ryan was missing, Olivia could not find him, and he was all alone. Back then, my heart softened. I thought of him as the child I had loved for years, so I took him in. I even turned a blind eye when I knew he was secretly giving the money I gave him to Olivia. I never imagined he would, at Olivia's urging, poison me. After my death, Olivia collected on a massive life insurance policy she had secretly taken out on me years before. Olivia being a monster was one thing, but for the child I had raised to harbor such malice toward me, that was why I could not rest in peace. I remembered Olivia standing over my hospital bed, contemptuously confessing everything as I lay dying. I let out a cold laugh. Since he was already here, I might as well play along. "Get in," I said. "You have not eaten, have you? I will take you to get a bite." I pretended not to notice the flicker of triumph in his eyes. I took him to a restaurant, but he hesitated at the door. I glanced inside at the casual diner and raised an eyebrow. What is wrong? Not hungry anymore. Is not that, Dad. I just do not really want to eat here, he said tentatively. I stared at him for a long 3 seconds, then broke into a smile. Fine. You pick the place and I will take you. After dinner, as I was about to drop him off, he asked if he could stay at my place instead of going back to his empty apartment. I agreed, and just like that, Brandon moved in with me. Over the next few weeks, he complained about everything. The bed was too hard, the lights were too bright. I knew he was testing me, seeing if I would still dote on him like I used to. I indulged his every whim. Gradually, he let his guard down. Soon, he was back to his old self, calling me by my first name, bossing me around, and demanding cash whenever he wanted it. And I would give it to him with a smile. He never noticed a thing. Before, I never would have let him eat junk food. Now, I let him eat whatever he wanted. I used to have a 10 p.m. curfew. Now he could come home whenever he felt like it. I gave him everything he wanted materially. I was very good to him. One day, I came home to find him on the phone. He hung up the second he saw me. Who was that? I asked casually. Just a friend from school, he replied. If he were not hiding something, he would have just ignored the question like he used to. My eyes darkened, but I forced a smile. Oh yeah? You should have them over sometime. Then I went to my room. The moment I walked in, I knew something was off. My room had been searched. I picked up a lighter that had been knocked over under the nightstand. Such a stupid, careless boy, I thought. Please do not disappoint me. Brandon did not keep me waiting long. On my birthday, which also happened to be his 18th, he called me. Dad, make sure you come home early tonight, okay? He said, his voice stiff with the awkwardness of someone trying to plan a surprise they desperately want you to know about. Okay, I said, and hung up. Thinking back, I could not believe how stupid I had been in my past life not to see something so obvious. I played my part and went home early. The table was set with a few dishes, just like old times. Dad, I will learn how to make your favorites. Happy birthday. He then went to the kitchen and brought out a cake. I glanced at the food, which was obviously takeout from a nice restaurant, and looked at him with a meaningful expression. You have grown up, Brandon. You are a man now, old enough to be responsible for your actions. I patted his shoulder, then pulled out a chair and sat down. Brandon placed a slice of cake in front of me. Here, Dad. Eat this first before it gets old. I smiled. You forgot it is your birthday, too? Your 18th. We are celebrating together. I pushed the slice of cake back toward him. A flash of impatience crossed his face, but he suppressed it and cut me a new slice. I watched with a smile as he then ladled a full bowl of seaweed soup and sat in front of me. I did not say a word. I took a sip. It tasted slightly bitter. Have some more, Dad. It is really good, right? Is it? I said, looking down at the rash already forming on my hand. That is a shame. I am allergic to seaweed, so I cannot have any more. I picked up my phone and sent a text. Officer, you can come in now. The electronic lock beeped, and the door swung open. Several police officers walked in. They went straight for Brandon and put him in handcuffs. He was still processing what was happening as they let him out the door. What are you arresting me for? He yelled. Lucas, did you call them? What the hell are you doing? I motioned for the officers to wait, then slowly walked over to him. This entire condo, I said calmly, is wired with cameras. At those words, all the color drained from his face. When reality hit him, he started screaming. Lucas, you son of a bitch. You should be dead. That lottery money was mine. It should have been mine. You do not deserve any of it. Brandon was arrested on his 18th birthday, the day he became legally responsible for his actions. The surveillance footage clearly showed him putting a massive dose of an illegal substance into my soup. It was a poison designed to kill quickly and break down in the system before an autopsy could detect it. He claimed Ryan had given him the poison, but Ryan was nowhere to be found. He also confessed that Ryan had forced his mother, Olivia, into prostitution at a private club to pay his debts. By the time the police raided the place, she was gone. I went to the hospital to get checked out. Since I had only had a small sip of the soup, I was fine. When I arrived at the police station later, the officers all looked at me with sympathy. After all, being poisoned by your own son is something no one should have to go through. I just gave a small smile and handed them the paternity test results. It showed conclusively that Brandon and I shared no biological relation. That only made them look at me with even more pity, knowing I had raised him for 18 years. I did not care. Let them think what they want. I hired the best criminal defense attorney in the city and told him to ensure Brandon was convicted. With the overwhelming evidence, the attempted murder charge stuck, and since he was now 18, he was tried as an adult. He was sentenced to 6 years in prison. I transferred a hefty bonus to the lawyer. Sometime later, I went to visit Brandon in prison. Seeing his gaunt, haggard face through the glass, I smiled. "So, you little bastard, how are you enjoying your 18th birthday present?" He flew into a rage, his eyes bloodshot, trying to lunge at me through the partition. He was completely unhinged. He looked just like his father. With Brandon in prison, I found myself habitually checking the security cameras, only to find the house empty and boring. I guess having someone actively trying to kill you in your own home keeps you on your toes. That is why, during the time he was staying with me, I was actually living at one of my other properties. All my important documents were there. The only thing of value I left in that condo was my framed winning lottery ticket. There was no way he would be able to resist that. Speaking of which, I had not seen Olivia in a long time. I wonder how she was doing. I contacted Evelyn Hayes, the casino owner. Her name was Evelyn Hayes, and it turned out the private club where Olivia had been working was one of her properties. When I saw Olivia again, her once pretty face was plastered with a fake, simpering smile. She was trailing behind a manager and did not even dare to look up at Evelyn Hayes. Not until she heard a familiar voice call her name. "Olivia." Olivia looked up and saw me standing next to Evelyn Hayes, dressed in a bespoke suit, looking every bit the man of wealth and power. Her eyes instantly turned red. But before she could say a word, I cut her off. "My mistake. I thought you were someone else." I nodded to Evelyn Hayes. "Shall we?" Evelyn Hayes gave the manager a look, and 2 men grabbed a struggling Olivia, covered her mouth, and dragged her away. "And what about Ryan?" I asked. Evelyn Hayes shrugged. "No idea. I heard he fled to Mexico." I saw her malicious smile and understood. I had not done anything to Ryan and his family, not directly. I had merely arranged a line of credit for him through Evelyn Hayes. It was not my fault he was useless enough to lose it all and then some. The idea to have Olivia pay off his debt with her body was something he overheard from his staff. He was the one who personally handed her over. It had nothing to do with me. Evelyn Hayes had opened that green channel for him as a personal favor to me. It was not an option for her other clients. The police never found Olivia at the club. That is because, as her friend, I felt it was only right to share my good fortune with her. If she happened to be moved just before the raid, well, that was not my business either. And as for Brandon, I was even more innocent. There is nothing wrong with installing security cameras in your own home. I just never told them they were there. I was good to him. I was good to all of them. Evelyn Hayes called and asked me to dinner. I smiled and declined. Being alone was just fine.